Clarke County Board of Education will now come to order. Ms. McNamara, would you call the roll, please?
Dr. Spangler? Here. Mr. Kane?
Here.
Mrs. Davis? Here. Mr. Parks?
Here.
Ms. Ellis? Here. Mr. Worthy?
Here.
Mrs. Williams? Here. Mr. Huff?
Here.
Mr. Thornton? Here.
Thank you. Any amendments to the agenda?
I have an amendment and just a change. First of all, under old business item number 2, it's not amended, but I'm going to change that and place that to agenda item number 12. I know I haven't got to 11 yet, but I'm going to get to it. It's going to be number 12 under new business. And the reason for that is that we did not take action to place that on the table last week, so therefore it's not old business. So I need to place that as an action item under new business. And the language will be the same, and that would be to suspend the rules for policies and adopt these changes, and similar to the discussion we had last week.
Okay.
The next is I would like to recommend an amendment to the agenda, which would be number 11, and that is for board travel for Mr. Payne. That would be for the Federal Relations Network Conference, and that he would be representing GSBA in an advisory role. So I'd ask that that be an amendment to the agenda.
Okay, any other amendments to the agenda? Any other amendments? Hearing none, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Moved by Ms. Ellis, now second by Mr. Payne. All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Please stand and join us in a moment of silence, and we'll follow that with a pledge of allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, recognition of achievements and awards.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, and members of the board. I am pleased to recognize many outstanding individuals from the Clarke County School District tonight. Honorees, when I call your name, please come forth, accept your certificate, and shake the board members' hands. First, we will recognize Clarke Central High School Orchestra student Thomas Laub Zobchich-Matic. And he recently won the Athens Youth Symphony Concerto Competition on cello. He will perform solo with the Athens Youth Symphony in May. We are incredibly proud of Thomas Laub. He is the first Clarke Central Orchestra student to win this prestigious competition, and his orchestra teacher is Dr. Eunice Kang. And now we'd like to recognize Thomas Laub. If you'd come on up. And next we'll recognize our 4-star Employee Award winners, and I will read their nomination and then we will call them up. First is Erin Adamson from Cedar Shoals High School, and she is a teacher and was nominated by Department Chair Gavin Matesich. And he said, Ms. Adamson deserves consideration for the district's 4-star award because of her highest and utmost commitment to constructing and teaching within a standards-based classroom of the highest quality. Her standards are always visible along with her exemplars and word wall. She maintains a very organized agenda along with unit plans and calendars to facilitate student understanding of the pacing. She maintains lesson plans and pacing for the economics data team at Cedar Shoals. Her strong commitment to the district's non-negotiables and standards-based teaching is evident in her end-of-course test scores, which are the highest in the district. In addition, she maintains all the lesson plans for the economics data team. Ms. Adamson goes above and beyond the call of duty as sponsor of Cedar Shoals GSA Club, along with the co-sponsor of the Senior Advisory Board. And so this evening, we'd like to recognize Erin Adamson.
Congratulations. And next we'll recognize Robin Brinkley, who is the registrar at Hillsman Middle School and was nominated for this award by school counselor Kim Turner. And Ms. Turner said that Robin is a true asset to Hillsman Middle School, and she is frequently the first person that students and families encounter when they come to Hillsman. Robin has excellent people skills and is very good at assessing the needs of the students as they are entering our school. She frequently connects them with staff members and resources, which enables these students to have a smooth transition. In addition, she is a caring person that provides support to students and staff. Many students and staff go to her first when they have a question or they don't know where to go to solve a problem. In addition, she has generously helped out students with food, uniforms, and more when she has seen a need and has done so quietly without anyone knowing. She has also played an influential role on the school's attendance committee. She is very aware of what is going on in the community as well as in students' lives. This understanding has been very helpful in order to fully assess students' needs. She has provided excellent ideas for ways of improving attendance and has been instrumental in implementing all attendance initiatives. Lastly, we had a recent situation at Hillsman that Robin handled with the utmost care and professionalism. Her instincts helped us quickly make decisions in a very tenuous situation. Her good judgment and insight enabled the best possible outcome. I am truly impressed with her skill in dealing with the most difficult circumstances. And so for all of the above reasons, I highly recommend Robin Brinkley for the 4-star award. And next is Mr. Trellis Colbert, who is the custodian at Chase Street Elementary School. And he was nominated for this award by Janet Fielding, a kindergarten teacher. And she said, Mr. Colbert has gone above his regular duties of custodian this year to mentor a kindergarten student in my classroom. The student came to school with aggressive behavior and was unmotivated. But Trellis has built a relationship with this student over the past 3 months, giving him incentives to do his best. This student can earn rewards to help him at the end of a school day. Since his intervention, the student wants to help Mr. Colbert. He works hard to make good choices, and he discusses strategies with Mr. Colbert. Mr. Colbert helps him cope or deal with difficult situations. They have a daily check-in to discuss the child's behavior and choices made. The student in my class has improved his behavior immensely because of this mentoring. He strives to do his best every day because he knows there is someone other than just his teacher that's proud of him for what he's doing at school each and every day. Trellis Colbert. Do you pronounce it Colbert? Yes. Appreciate it.
And finally, we have Derek Maxwell, who is the principal at Whit Davis Elementary School, and he was nominated for this award by Sharon Dickerson, the parent of 2 children enrolled at Whit Davis. And this is what she had to say. A breath of fresh air, always out in the car rider circle. Already knows my child by name. Friendly. Fun but firm with the students. Love him. Supports his staff. Responded quickly to my concern. These are just a few phrases that parents and teachers are using to describe our new principal, Derek Maxwell. Since school began, he has gone above and beyond normal principal duties. Not even a month into the school year, he already had removed a non-venomous snake from the playground, but not before letting the kids who wanted to touch it do so. He has helped jumpstart and push cars that have stalled in the car rider circle. When one of the books in the PTO's coupon book fundraiser was damaged, he offered his book as a replacement, so PTO would not have to pay for it. And when the students raised $10,000 for the school by selling coupon books, he agreed to ride a tricycle around the school track and let the students throw water balloons at him. Just this year already, he has already become Whit Davis's shining star. Congratulations, Principal.
Appreciate it. Great job.
Again, congratulations to all of our honorees. You represent your school district and community so well, and we thank you for consistently going above and beyond.
And certainly there are many other talents in Mr. Maxwell. There's probably a YouTube video floating out there that talks about Whit Davis. What is it? What's the exact title? Whit Davis, end of the... That's right. But it's very interesting, right? So Whit Davis, end of the year sing along if someone's curious. So that's right. But to all of our recipients, again, it just simply goes to people making a difference.
Yes.
Stepping outside what you normally do, that little bit extra that touches the lives, the hearts, the minds of one child, two children, three children. Thank you for what you do.
Yes, go ahead.
I also think for people to take the time to write something about somebody. You know, a lot of people do a lot of good things, and we go, oh, that's good, or that's good. But to take the time to sit down and put it in writing is also really powerful. So I thank those people that do that. That's a good thing.
Great. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and move the agenda down to item E. That's the minutes of the previous meetings we had in December. You've read those minutes. I'll entertain a motion for approval. Moved by Mr. Payne. Do I have a second on that? Second by Ms. Davis. Any questions pertaining to the minutes? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Superintendent, your report.
Just several things this morning this evening, because it's going to be a busy week, as you know, with Advanced Ed, the SACS accreditation team, external review team. Again, they will start with us on Sunday evening, moving through their external review of our internal processes on Monday and Tuesday. And of course, there will be a called board meeting on Wednesday at 1:30 in which we will get an overview of their findings. Just preliminarily, again, I need to say thank you to the team, the principals, in particular Tim Jarbo again, who has been on this process. As those that know, it's about getting the details and getting the work done. And we've got some feedback, and again, it's informal feedback, but what we're getting is our report is extremely well written, it's comprehensive, and that's a thanks to a lot who put that together. So that'll be the big chunk of our next week. But we're excited about it because this is an opportunity for us to tell what we're doing. And when you go into a review, real pleased with the work that you're doing. It's really much more exciting. This is not about anticipation or nervousness. This is about we want to do this, and so we're looking forward for the next 3 days. And just a couple other observations. One is our technology rollout, and if you haven't done so recently, please, and this is to the public, check out the tech blog. It's on our website, but it really gives some insight into what our technology rollout has done. I mean, so that's on paper. But if you go into the schools, I'll give an example. I was at Cedar Shoals today to get a piece of their rollout, which is 9th grade, one-to-one. Talked with a class, talked with teachers, and what we're getting back, which I think is very different than some perceptions. Our kids are so excited. They have tremendous care for the devices. Some of you say, I want to care it, I want to break it. I have a stack of letters this thick from students thanking us for giving them an opportunity to have a different set of tools. But it's amazing to see the reaction that kids really see this as an opportunity for tools that they can excel. I talked to them today, and they said we can learn differently. It's exciting. We can take it to different levels. They weren't afraid of it. But I think the biggest piece here is they really honored and appreciate the fact that not the board, but the taxpayers and those in this community through our SPOS fund are able to do that. And I think if you sat down with those students, you would see that emerge pretty quickly. So I just want to say that really is to our students. They've done a tremendous job. And with that, again, it's going to be a very, very busy. This is a busy time of year between evaluations and of course we get assessments and testing and the curriculum and the core curriculum. So just real pleased we're all that our faculty are focused and ready to go. And you know, the work is hard, but the work is rewarding and the work is being done.
Yes.
So with that ends my report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lanu. Don't have any concerns or questions for Dr. Lanu. We're going to move down to item E, and that's report of current committees, Dr. Lanu.
That we SPOS 2, SPOS 3, you have reports for November. I recommend approval of the financial report for November 2012.
Okay, recommendation on the financial report. Need a motion on that. Moved by Mr. Huff. Second from Mr. Payne. Any questions? I just have one, not really a question here, but on the board members' travel, FY 213. I think we need to take the Ellison Rice name off and put.
It's still because it's last year. It's not this year yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Well, I guess I was looking at 2013.
Yeah, that was, thanks, a good point. That was a 2012 expenditure.
Okay.
Because of the FY 2013 year.
I got you. Okay.
Good.
All right. Any other questions? All in favor? Okay. Motion passed. Thank you.
Yes, never under GSP director.
To the superintendent and board president, the board and those present. We had a chance to meet with the state school superintendent and 4 of his aides in Atlanta at our annual conference. And what was expressed to us made us be alert to the fact that there will be legislation coming down the pipe this year that you never heard of, never seen before. So in order for GSBA to be ready, we are having our first meeting, and this is the first time that we've had to do this. January 22nd, we will be meeting in Atlanta in Twin Towers Monday morning for this meeting. The other thing is that if you read the GSBA reports from Washington, D.C., and the report from various organizations about the charter schools, it's very interesting reading. I would hope that you would take the time. The AJC, they have about 30 articles. About 30 articles. The other thing that I want you to see, if you want to see your district director and the lady that brought the moment of silence address is on the website. You can see me and her together. And her whole speech is in that article. We have come full cycle. When I went on the board in '89 as a district director, the Georgia School Board Association, along with the legislators, was working together in order to pass legislation that would benefit education and children. For the last 12 to 15 years, the GSBA has spent most of our time in committee meetings, in hearings, and asking superintendents and board members throughout the state to come to the under the gold dome in order that we can change legislation or defeat legislation that our representatives are sponsoring that's against the teachers and against education. So we're going to start early this year in order that we can be ready, because from what I can gather from the state school superintendent and his 4 aides that is coming down the pipe, so we're looking for that. The other thing that I want you to be aware of is the fact that if you read your email from the National School Board Association, we have a president and we have a National School Board Superintendent who believes in education, who supports education. If you remember last year under the Bush administration, the budget for education was $60 billion. The first year under Obama's administration, it was $120 billion. But now we're fighting for every dime because the two wars have put us in a bind, and there is not much money in Washington, D.C. So why do they cut first? Education. So we're going to have to fight for every dime that we get. Ted Kennedy is no longer there. Senator Harkins, he will be there, and the 4 or 5 other senators will be working hard as they can in order for us to get as much as we can. But I want you to be aware that if you go to the GSBA website, you will see how it's coming down the pipe. And we're going to do the very best that we can in order that we can get admitted. And certainly we have not received a report from our senators. I think last year they voted for it 3 times. Both of them voted the same way every time. And there was no yes vote from our representatives on education. So our job is really hard now in that we don't have the money. We have the people in place to give us the money, but they don't have the money because of the 2 wars that we fought. And you see about how they're fighting up in Washington, D.C. all the time. And so it's going to be very difficult for us this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Let me ask you one thing, what day, and I think it's sometime this month, school board members are scheduled to go to Atlanta to lobby the legislature?
No, they won't be in session. This is a work session. It will be later on in the year.
Okay. Not in January?
Not in January.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Last year we talked about knowing ahead of the GSBA summer meeting, the issues that we're going to be voting up or down, and we talked about the board members knowing what those issues are prior to that summer GSBA meeting. Has there been any discussion on that?
This will be discussed. I cannot go into detail and tell you about whatever the superintendent said that they think is coming down the pipe. We don't know that.
I'm talking about in general. I mean, sometimes we talk about retirement. You know that list we always get.
The legislative priority.
Yeah.
You will get that. You will get that.
So we always get them so late that our board members don't.
I will see that you get them earlier this time.
Okay, any other concerns or questions for Mr. Payne? Okay. All right, we're going to move down to old business. Dr. Ledoux.
Old business, I recommend that we, under number 1, that we remove the policies and regulations from the table.
Okay, I need a motion to remove these policies and regulations from the table. Moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second by Mr. Huff. All in, Ms. Williams. I'm sorry. All in favor? Okay.
Okay, and of course, the couple of highlights for this is changes these policies, the structure of our first Thursday to a work session, and changes the time. No, is this going to change the time, or is that?
The time is in
the recommendation. Okay, so it's some significant changes for us. So with that, and barring that there's no opposition to the regulations, because you don't vote on those, I recommend that we approve said policies under number 1.
Okay, the recommendation from the superintendent to approve these policies, and we have 12 policies here, folks. I've counted them, so I need a motion. Moved by Dr. Spainless. We have a second from Ms. Davis. Any questions pertaining to these policies? Any questions pertaining to these policies? All in favor? Okay, motion passed. Thank you very much. We go into the consent agenda.
Yeah. New business. I'll just make a note because that's where the 6 o'clock changes, a 6 o'clock start, and that's to our public. That starting next month will be a 6 o'clock start for both the work session and the regular board meeting, which will be the second Thursday. With that, I recommend approval of the consent agenda.
A recommendation from the superintendent on the consent agenda, moved by Ms. Williams, and second by Dr. Spangler. All in favor? Thank you very much. Okay. All right, so we're down to item 8.
Item 8, I recommend we approve the appointment of the firm of Hall Booth Smith PC with Michael C. Pruitt, partner, having primary responsibilities as the board attorney for the calendar year 2013 at the offered rate of $145 per hour.
Okay, you heard the recommendation from Dr. Lene. Okay, moved by Ms. Payne. Got a second on that? Second from Ms. Ellis. Any questions? Go ahead, Ms. Thornton.
I wanted to be clear. I was the one that pulled it off last week. I had some information that I thought was pertinent, and I probably should have brought it up into executive session, but I didn't. But I have talked to Mr. Benton, and I'm very comfortable with that, and will follow up, so I would be supporting this tonight.
Okay. Any other questions pertaining to legal services? Go ahead, Dr. Spangler.
Last week, Mr. Huff raised the question about that the letter outlines the $145 an hour, but it doesn't include the $350 a month retainer. And I thought he had asked that be added. Is that in there now? Did I miss it?
It's not. I was thinking I was going to ask, perhaps we could at least get it in the minutes. Nothing else.
So we're fairly reflecting the full cost of legal services.
Right, just so that it's...
And that we all understand that that's what the contract is for.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
So we could have that in the minutes about the 350 retainer and the
Right.
145. And I think he had mentioned a paraprofessional and something, or paralegal.
Paralegal for free.
I don't know what that rate is.
Okay, any other questions pertaining to legal services? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Unanimous. Okay, 9, that's on
We're 9.
Schedule.
That I recommend approval of the overall SPLOST plan.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on overall SPLOST 4 schedule plan. Moved by Mr. Payne. Got a second on that, second by Mr. Huff. Do we have any questions pertaining to the SPLOST 4 schedule plan? Any questions? All in favor? Okay. Opposed? Abstention? One abstention.
I don't have enough information. I'm sorry. It's overwhelming to me.
All right. Okay, we're going to item 11, Mr. Superintendent.
Item 10.
That's on item 10, the program of study. Item 10.
And number 12. Could I do this just because the other two are linked? Could I go ahead and do 11? And then we do the policies and the program of studies together since those are linked. That's okay. That I would recommend approval of travel for Mr. Payne to represent Georgia and GSPA at the Federal Relations Network Conference this year.
Okay, that recommendation from the superintendent on the Federal Relations Network Conference held in Washington, D.C. Need a motion on that? Need a motion moved by Mr. Huff. Second from Ms. Davis. Any questions on that?
Do we have a estimated cost, or, I mean, I'm just curious more than anything. Not,
Yes.
I didn't
Here,
see
we
that
have.
in the,
I got it.
okay, I didn't see it in there.
It's going to be pretty close to
23.
about $2,300.
$2,300.
Yeah.
Is there
Any further questions?
an NSBA conference this year too? Yes.
Any further questions on that? Go ahead, Dr. Spangler.
I'm just going to say what we've said before but never taken action on. If this is representing GSBA District 11, that's a lot of school districts, and we're bearing all the financial burden for it. And I think before we approve a district director again, we should talk to, the next time we have a district meeting, we should talk to the other districts about fairly sharing those expenses. I mean, mileage back and forth to Atlanta isn't that big a deal, but that's a chunk of change.
That's a significant amount.
Okay.
I support our district having representation there, but you know, we've had the seat in our district for a long time and paid the price for it for a long time.
Very well stated. Okay, any other questions or comments pertaining to the Federal Relation Network Conference in Washington, D.C.
Let's be real clear, it's $2,200, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm good with it.
Any other questions? All in favor of this, show your right hand, please. Now unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Motion passed. Okay,
If I can, because the next two are linked, they're dealing with the change in schedule as well as the policy changes that we needed to make adjustments in order to go to a 7-course offering year-long schedule. And I sent the board a summary of events that I thought better described the sequence of what happened. And what I'd like to do at this point, and we have that up there, is just go back through that part of our strategic plan that we approved was to move to a 7-course offering, year-long course offering. So once that plan was approved, I charged the instructional counselors who've been doing a lot of work in arriving to the recommendation to move to the 7-course offering to begin to design prototypes. And that process would include a different constituency, parents, etc. They did that, and I'm going to go on record as saying I thought they did a terrific job of taking the priorities that they established that were important and incorporating in how to best use time and resources. We've met with advisory boards, we've met with teachers, we've met with instructional councils, got feedback, made adjustments, worked with the university, with Dr. Zepeda on the research around this, and what this schedule is it's a rotating schedule, and some people say it's really confusing. Well, it might be if you've never used a rotating schedule, but once you use the schedule, it's not a problem. And I've been in schools, just for the record, where I've had 8-day rotating cycles. So there's day 8, so they were never even close to Monday or Tuesday, and people figure it out. But what we believe in this case is that the 7-period schedule, that 70 minutes is the optimal learning time for a student. And that was established quickly. So the first thing you do is you look at a schedule, you build it around the time that you think maximizes instruction and learning. So you start with 70 minutes. Right? That's parameter number 1. The next is that we were looking at a 7-period offering. And why we're looking at this, and we can leverage resources around 7 periods, not necessarily the 8th, but if students wanted to take an 8 course or a 9 course, we've got a whole set of tools to do that. We have Georgia Virtual, students that went to the Career Academy today, for example, or can actually take a full course using E2020. So we have different ways of delivering courses than we had before, where I had to sit in a block of time. We also believe that the 7-period course provides more contact hours, which it does. You do it mathematically. Over the course of time, you're going to get more contact hours, and that's, of course, for those students who need it. They're going to be with that teacher for more time. We also still believe that the year-long academic year is a better model for our students, that there's more. And I know there's questions, what happened if students start doing well? Well, we have a whole year to work with them versus trying to do catch-up. When you have a semester, the curriculum is coming at you very, very quickly. And if you get behind, or if you miss a week or 2, you're really behind. And in fact, if a teacher is out for a week, we're behind. So this way, you push it out over a year, and we think it's a better model, because this is what we want. We want our kids to pass first time around. We don't want to get into, are we going to go to summer school, or are we going to do credit recovery? We want our kids and our teachers, our classes to do it the first time through. So we think that this year-long will bring greater continuity. We know it's going to help more with our AP classes, certainly with our languages, because we'll have it all year long. So there are definitely some benefits to the schedule. Now the schedule itself, and let me try to explain this. People oftentimes, when they think of 6 blocks, 7 course offerings, or 8, when you think of 8, it's either in a block or I go every day. This is not a schedule where people go every day. If you went every day, our class periods would be about 40 minutes, and we'd probably spend 20% of our time in some transition down the halls, or getting ready, or taking attendance. So in a 70-minute period, you're going to have 5 courses a day. Not 7, like you would in a traditional 7, but not 4. You're going to get 5. So to make this work, we have come up with a day 1, day 2, day 3 schedule. Monday's not Monday. Monday could be day 1, Monday could be day 2, Monday could be day 3. People sometimes ask, well, are people going to get confused? Kids will adapt quickly, and since teachers are planning accurately, this is not a problem. It also is quite interesting when you have days off that I know in some states where you had Mondays off a lot because of holidays, you aren't impacted because Monday, when you set your calendar, if your week starts with Tuesday, it starts with the next day in that cycle. And what this does is that it's set up that the morning day section rotates periods 1, 2, and 3. So if you look at day 1, it's periods 1 and 2. You look at day 2, you get 2 and 3, and you go to day 3, you get 3 and 1. So in that 3 days, your class will meet twice. Yes. We kept period 4 constant because that's the transition time with lunches. You can't cycle it. That's where you got students going to the Career Academy. You keep that constant all the way through. Then the last 3 periods of the day, just like the beginning, are rotating 5, 6, and 7. What this allows, and people ask, well, what about dual enrollment? Well, students can take usually morning or afternoon classes. That's not going to change. They will take it within that cycle. They may have to complement it with a GAPS course, but we've also set in the program of studies that when seniors may say, I'm just going to take a college course. We're not going to require all seniors to take even 7 classes if they got a unique and special program that requires time to be used differently. So it really gives us tremendous flexibility. Now, does that mean all college courses are going to fit tightly? No, but they never did. They don't today. And over the course of the year, we're going to have to flex the time. If I have to eat into one class period one day, you just simply make it work. But the overall benefits here is that we're leveraging our resources to 7 periods. That's a better use of resources. We got a different set of tools for kids that access course material through Georgia Virtual and e-learning. We believe that over the period of a year, we have more time to catch kids, provide safety nets. We believe that the 70-minute period block is a good amount of time. It will maximize contact hours. And we also believe that the day cycle, and this is an offshoot, and people ask, it seems a little different, but if you'll notice, like at the beginning of the day, you're not always having the same period. Now, some say it's confusing. Well, you're going to talk to a lot of people saying, do I always have to be period 1? And in this case, I want you to make a little adjustment that when you're day 1, you start with period 1. Notice that day 2, you start with period 2, and if it's day 3, you start with period 3. So I will say this, and Dr. Cepeda said this to our instructional council, I've never seen it put together quite this way. I think it's been a tremendous process. Kudos to our instructional teams who came up with this. So that's the backbone. That's the conversation that occurred in moving to this schedule. And it all started because we said our kids, we aren't doing what we need to do instructionally, or are our kids doing what they need to do to engage in learning in the block? And that started this conversation. So with that, I'll stop maybe for any questions.
Yeah, before we move away from the prototype schedule, I've been looking at it for the last several days, and I know that this prototype is already in the program of study. We're expecting that to be approved tonight. But anyway, I'd like to hear more about this administrative time.
Sure.
Because I tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the 7:45 for teachers to arrive, and then you got 8 to 8:40 for administrative time. And I know you got a note down there saying it could be faculty meetings, it could be data.
It's our collaborative planning.
Right. Okay, but just talk to me about that administrative.
Sure. Let me put it. Good question. Let me put it in the context of also teacher planning, because that's another question. Teachers will teach 6 courses out of 7. Okay, so you want to put that in context. If my free block is period 7, you can see that there'd be one day I wouldn't have a free block, but I would the next 2 days. But what makes this schedule quite unique is that morning time, we have tremendous, we know that our district is built on collaborative planning, building PLCs with our teams. It's very difficult to get teacher schedules to line so you bring them up at the same time. And what this schedule does, it allows our teachers the ability all to work in collaborative teams, so we can get our special needs teachers with our core teams, as well as doing some of the other business without interfering. So when we set administrative time, is that we'll set that's really, the bulk of that is going to be planning time, professional development for teachers that they design. But high schools have never really ever had a situation where everyone was free consistently to do consistent work, and that's why it's quite unique to have that morning session, so I'm glad you asked.
Okay, now the next thing, my person's still sitting around there. This will be Dr. Price and Dr. Lucas' situation. Looking at that administrative time, and I see that you explained that very well, but I'm also looking at how they're going to be a supervision in that, because you got 1,700 youngsters coming to that campus at that, not just about at that particular time, but like I said, now maybe they have figured out how to do that, and I looked at the schedule over and over and over.
Sure.
And they got it made out there, and I guess they're subject to change, but I don't see how they're going to put supervision in there.
Sure, and I don't actually. There is a way to do that. So what you simply do, as they talked about, is that all teams will plan on the same day. So if you need help with teacher supervision, you set that schedule up. So if one department is worked for supervision on Tuesday, they don't do their planning on Tuesday. That would be some administrative time.
I was really concerned. You turned 1,700.
I don't think either one of our principals would have moved it forward with us if that was a concern.
Now the next thing, and I guess we still have the campus computer program. Have you all done a trial run to see where the campus can actually schedule?
Yes. Yeah, we worked that out, and we worked through with our budgeting and making sure that impact. And yes, we did.
Sarah has her hand.
Go ahead.
I just have two quick things. First of all, I went to high school on a rotating schedule like this, and I can still to this day tell you the order of the class periods, so I'm not worried about our students learning that. I'm sure y'all don't want to hear it, but I really could rattle through with it. And my other concern, and this is, I was a classroom teacher for 4 years. If your planning period is period 3, when are you supposed to go to the bathroom on day A?
What happens is
I mean, seriously,
yeah,
like you get not a minute from 8:45 to 3:30. And I just,
right. But what we do really is we have teachers that are beside each other.
Sure.
They do this all the time. They sit and they sit while kids, and kids are really good when they come in. They get settled. I got a teacher that watches both classrooms, use the facility. But we've had those situations that you just work it out.
right.
Just work it out.
So I do. I mean, I like this, but that is my biggest concern.
I mean,
is just, and plus, I just think that is a long stretch of time to not have.
Well, they will get the time during lunch, of course, but it's the morning. I mean, so it depends where your lunch period is set up. That if you're 1-2, you're going to find you may be only teaching 2 classes, and then you would have a break in lunch.
And would any faculty member have no period 4 class? Because that's a much longer.
The period 4 class is built in. There's JAG time, which is some remedial time, and that's where we build in our lunch periods.
Okay.
So there's also advisory built into this as well on a rotating schedule. Teachers, we went through with teachers, and this
They're okay?
yeah,
All right. That's my only concern.
yeah.
My question, I think you just partly answered that just now when you said number 4 would be the time that those youngsters who were sick or was out would catch up.
We have advisory, and we built in some JAG and GLAD time for them to do that as well.
Okay.
I have another, well, not a concern, a very powerful question in my mind. When you're making the transition of this magnitude, going from a 4x4 block to a 7-period AP schedule, and what I'm getting ready to say here, we thought about this when we went from a 4x4 to a 6-period day. With those seniors, concerned about the seniors, I saw some heads roll across the state that didn't think about this. Because when you register them for 7 periods, those seniors are going to be locked in the same as everybody else. have they made sure that every senior that is on schedule to graduate this coming May, have they made sure that the courses going to be offered that they would need? Because we're going to tell you now, you can get caught in a trap like that.
Yeah, we're not concerned with that at all. And in fact, like I said, we've got some tools that if for some reason something didn't fit, we've got Georgia Virtual, we've got E2020 that kids are taking. So that has not been a concern at all by our design team or teachers, just because we can do things differently. And again, we'll work those kinks out, or those challenges out in the scheduling process, because we're moving it to the board this early so that we can start this scheduling process a month early so that we can do appropriate staffing and the times we do budget. Before, a lot of times scheduling wasn't done to the summer, and I'm going to say that's way too late. We need to do scheduling to hire and move people around in appropriate places to match our schedule. So that's not a concern.
Yeah, well, I know you mentioned safety net last Thursday night, but anyway, go ahead, Dr.
I did appreciate you taking the time and sending and explaining to us that kind of got lost in the conversation. Well, I did. I don't know about nobody else, but I'm still wrestling with. We've been through this kind of nightmare before, and we do something for a while, and then we change and we go back. That really still bothers me. But I do think that I don't feel as though I did my due diligence, because when you said that we voted on it in the strategic planning session, for me not to vote for it now after you took our okay to go forward and this much time has been put into it, I definitely want to support it. But I do want to put my concerns still out there. I know I gave you my okay when I voted, and you reminded me of that, and so I do support it, and I trust that it'll be okay.
The thing here, and I understand, and I can tell you that I went through those block conversations that are going across the nation, and the rationale for the block were good ones. I mean, I will tell you today, I was advocating to go to the block. As a principal, and I was principal for 18 years in different schools, and didn't go to the block. But I think what's coming out of there, of course, is as a result of the time, the concept was it was going to change instructional practice, and it did. But I don't think the instructional practice matched the full conceptual framework of using the block. And that's what research has done. So when you put something new, you have to evaluate it. In the evaluation for us right now with the block schedule, and there will be some out there say it works great and it meets my needs, but for this district and for a number of other districts, they're moving off the block. And they're moving off because we're just not seeing the results, or are we seeing us be able to fully utilize 90 minutes the way it was in concept? And really is. Kids get tired, teachers get tired, and so our feeling is I know people say it's a lot of, it's very painful to make the change, but on the other hand, if we need to do something that works, we need to make that change. And this change wasn't predicated that just we ought to do a 7, it was predicated to solve a problem differently. And so there's been much analysis around this change. This conversation has been occurring with instructional for over 2 years. So this didn't happen, like, okay, let's do this and see what happens. So I just want to assure the board.
Okay, go ahead.
And because we know, because we know kind of what the problems were, is there going to be a tool developed that we will be able to evaluate this as milestones? Do we have to wait till next year, or are there any milestone tools or things that we can identify to let us know? I'm not looking for a miracle overnight.
Yeah, I think in performance that takes some time. I think what we'll be certainly monitoring, and we do, is level of engagement, design. We can track progress of where students at after quarters. When we do quarters, we then, and it's qualitative, go in and say, it's not that I only got 8 more weeks before the semester ends. You've got another whole year. And we have some evidence, because we have moved some courses to all year as we pilot them. So will I have performance outcomes, tool data? No. I'm not going to see those in December, because we won't have that particular data. We'll start seeing some benchmark data, because we have to recalibrate those. But we will begin to monitor engagement data, and that's really important. And that's through our walkthroughs.
Ms. Ellis?
There is a lot of just public comment about, oh, we're changing again, we're changing again, we're changing again. And I just want to say that I think that change is beneficial, and until 100% of our students are graduating, we can't not change. And so it is an absolute, leap of faith to make changes, and it sounds research-based, and a lot of thought has gone into it, and a lot of research from highly qualified individuals have gone into this, and so I appreciate that, and I hope that the public recognizes that we have to make some changes along the way, always, and you always hope it's the very best thing, and so that's why you hoped it was the very best thing with block scheduling. Now we hope it's the very best thing, but we don't know until we get there. So.
And thank you. And this is not, it's not a situation where we went to a block schedule, then we're going to go back to a traditional. We're not going back to where we were.
Right.
And where we were 42-minute periods and meeting every day, or a 6-course offering, which we know, and I will go on record to say is not a best instructional time to use. 42 minutes. And so we're going back to a different, call it somewhere in the middle, where we've evaluated both the amount of the instructional time where kids can stay actively engaged and teachers can design time for lessons, and that is around 70 minutes. I mean, that's the operative factor here, is that it's a 70-minute period. It's not going back to let's do 7 periods every day. That's not what we're talking about. And so I just want to say it's just finding that right spot for us.
Okay.
That was the reason. There was a lot of debate about when we went to the block schedule, and one of the reasons that I supported was the fact that I never felt like the 42 minutes was enough time for the youngsters to really grasp what they need to grasp in order to be successful when they move down the line. And that was the reason that I supported the block program in the beginning. But I can see where this is a much better program than either one, the block program or the one that we had prior to the block program. And I think that with the teachers and everybody on board, that this should be a successful change.
And I would say this, if I was a principal at the time you went to the block, I'd be right there supporting the block, because that was the movement to change.
Yes.
And so this is about what's making a good choice or not a good choice. It was a good choice. And it's changed how we teach in classes. But you always look to make it better. And that's what this is doing, is shrinking it a bit. But the other added piece of the schedule, and I know you talk about administrative time, is we've got time in there for teachers to collectively plan. So when all said and done, effective instruction is effective instruction, whether it's in 42, 70, or 90. We just think that 70, with the research and the conversation, maximizes our engagement. But you put in that administrative time in the morning for teachers to have a set time where they can meet and collaborate. I think we'll probably see that will have as much, if not more, to me, ability to change instruction than time.
Dr. Spring mentioned that.
I was just following up on Sarah's comment about change. Block scheduling happened 11, 12, 13 years ago, so it's not like we're changing every 2 or 3 years.
Right.
It's not like the kids who are in high school now got the schedule change. And there's been talk about changing block scheduling for probably 5 or 6 years.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this isn't like we're,
And we're not unique. We're not the only district that has begun to do some analysis of some change.
Mr. Payne the only one that was on the board when block
Yes.
scheduling was adopted. So it's been a while.
Yes.
My comment is this, I don't have a problem with making changes when things don't work. I think that's a good thing to do. And if we think we're going to get a lot better results from the kids having 70 minutes in a classroom, I'm excited about the 70 minutes that they have, part of which will be instruction, part of which I'm sure will be their own individual things brought to it. I'm also I'm a little bit ambivalent about the alternatives too. Again, if we've got to go to more virtual learning, more stuff, because I'm not sure that our kids are there yet. I really don't. I just don't get that warm feeling that everybody can do that. I think some kids can do that extremely well, but I think the majority of our kids don't do that well. So I'm not really excited about the alternatives for when we can't kind of meet those schedules. But now I'm delighted that we still have other things that they can do to get to where they need to be. Yeah. And I think the 70 minutes in a classroom might help them with their attention span, because I see the kids and the attention for an hour is just almost impossible to hold on to. So I'm hoping that we're going to see some decreases in the stress levels for our students, and hopefully that's going to give them a better learning environment. And I really do hope that we're measuring that. I hope that we're somehow really looking at not only the academic results or achievements as a result of this change, but how is our behavior in our classrooms, because I really think that's a big deterrent to their learning as well.
And we have the metrics to do that now. So this is not a new set of metrics that we put in place, whether it's walkthrough data or referral data. You know, I think that the biggest one is not compliance. Just so people know, compliance means I'm doing just fine. I'm just not engaged. Right. And typically in classrooms, you can find classrooms that look fine. You walk in and it looks good. Well, it's compliant. And what we're looking at is engagement.
I think with the technology blend and the things that are happening, and I just really do, from my little world and my small vacuum, because I don't get to get into the classrooms at all, in schools a lot, I am just really sitting here with a firm hope, which is sad, that this is going to really work. So I will be looking for some more concrete things to do.
And that's the only thing I was talking about is when you said we have the metrics. That's the only thing I mean when I say that. Maybe the word I should have said benchmark or metrics. Right. Yeah. That we don't want to go way, way, way down the road and then hear this something, you know. That I guess that's what I meant.
Sure. And I also want to go on record as saying this is still all about instruction, teachers and students engaged in learning. And what I've learned over time is that you can't change instruction by just simply changing time.
Right.
I mean, what we work to do is we worked hard to change the instructional model and found that let's now look at time more effectively to do what we want to do. So we're not creating reform. I did it twice, and it didn't work either one, where I said, let's put in a new schedule because it will impact teaching. It didn't work. I did it twice. It wouldn't work twice in two different schools. So this really is about instruction. Yeah.
I move that we make the change.
Well, we got to make recommendations. No, this is the program.
Okay, so the first one I'd ask are would be the policy. It'll be this one. So well, I think I have to do two. The first I would ask for the policies outlined in item 2, which we now move to number 12. I would ask first that we suspend the rules to approve these policies. Suspend the rules of placing them on the table. That's the first I would ask. And then I would ask for approval of the policies, and with if there's no exceptions to the regulations, I would put in place the regulations.
Well, I think we got to do three things, and I think he said two. First of all, you got to you made a recommendation. I need a motion to remove the policies from the table.
No. Just the reason, and you're right.
Wait a minute now.
They're not on the table. See the. Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say. Charles,
you were on there last week?
No.
Okay.
And that was. Thank you. But because we didn't place them on the table last week, and you're absolutely right, Charles. That's what we should have done.
Yeah.
We didn't. And so that's why I moved it to an action item, right, which says we're just going to act on it because they haven't been placed on the table. We just put them on the agenda. So you're right, but that's why we made this change. So I think we have to, because it's a new action item, we have to, I have to recommend, I'm going to want to be approved, I want it to suspend the rules, which is to put, which you could have put them on the table.
Okay, I need a motion to suspend the rules, okay? Moved by Ms. Davis, okay? Second by Dr. Spain. All in favor of suspending the rules? Thank you very much.
Therefore, then, I recommend approval of the policies outlined in item 12.
Okay, you make that recommendation. I want to say this before I call for a motion. I think I'm in order to do this. I didn't want to get the motion first and then ask for number 1 to be pulled off. I'm going to vote on that differently. That's on the IED, scheduling for instruction. I want to vote on that separately. That's the very first one.
Therefore, I feel friendly. I'm going to then recommend, we've done this in the past, I recommend approval of policy IED, scheduling for instruction.
Okay. Now, I need a motion on that.
So moved.
By Ms. Payne. I need a second on that. Second by Ms. Thorne. Okay. Any questions on that? All in favor? Okay. All righty, that's 8, and I oppose. 8 1. Okay, now I need to do the rest of it.
I would recommend approval of the remaining policies, also knowing that the regulations would go into effect given no.
A recommendation from the superintendent on, that's policy, and I'm going to call them out, IHAB, policy IHAA, and policy IHF. Okay, I need a motion on that.
And JBC.
JBC.
Oh, JBC, okay, transfer and credit, sorry, okay. All righty, moved by Ms. Thorne. Need a second on that? Mr. Huff, second by Mr. Huff. Any questions about these policies, these 3 policies? Okay, all in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Okay.
Then I'll go to number 10. I recommend approval of the 2013-14 program of study.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on the program of study. Okay, moved by Dr. Slater, second by Ms. Davis. Any questions pertaining to the program of study? Any questions? All in favor? Thank you very much. Motion passed. Okay?
All right.
Dr. Ledoux.
H, recommend approval of the personnel recommendation, job descriptions, and addenda.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent on the personnel recommendation and job descriptions. Okay, moved by Ms. Payne. We got a second from Mr. Huff. All in favor? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay. All right. Motion for adjournment. Thorne, I looked your way tonight. Ms. Davis, we can be here. All I know, we can go home.